Committee will come to order. Good morning. Appreciate you all being here. Before we start, I want to address some housekeeping matters. First, today's open portion is being broadcast live and streamed on the committee's YouTube channel. It will be conducted entirely on an unclassified basis. All participants are reminded to refrain from discussing classified or other information protected from public disclosure. It is my privilege to welcome a distinguished panel of leaders to our hearing today to discuss the intelligence community's annual threats assessment. During today's proceedings, we will hear from Lieutenant General Scott Berrier, Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Honorable William Burns, Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, the Honorable Avril Haines, Director of National Intelligence, General Paul Nakasone, Director of the National Security Agency, and the Honorable Christopher Wray, Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Thank you all for your service and for your appearance here today. I also want to thank all of our committee members for their cooperation today. We will have both open and closed sessions with our witnesses. Our plan is to complete the open session by noon, adjourn for a lunch break, and resume in closed session. On to my opening statement. This is our annual hearing on worldwide threats. It's an opportunity for the intelligence community to come before Congress and the American people to talk about the threats that our nation faces. It also will be an opportunity for us to talk about how we can respond to those threats and what are the needs of the intelligence community. Our adversaries self-select, and today you'll certainly hear about China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, and others. We will also be discussing issues about domestic violent extremist groups. Domestic violent extremist groups, such as Antifa, have funding, organizational structures, which include communications, training, logistics, illegal activities, especially as we've seen across the country, violence. Today, when we discuss the intelligence community's surveillance of domestic violence extremist organizations, we're certainly going to be discussing the issue of our concerns of the rights of everyday law-abiding Americans whose rights may be violated. Since 1977, our committee was formed to respond to abuses by the intelligence community. We were organized to protect the integrity of our laws, to protect our citizens' constitutional rights. Foremost, that is why our committee is here. Concurrently, we were also here to protect our national security, to protect our country and its citizens from foreign and domestic adversaries. Now, I want to welcome you to our new intelligence community. It is new because we have a renewed commitment of both bipartisanship and working on a professional manner. Our committee was opened by an address by the Speaker of the House and by Minority Leader Jeffries, where he tasked each and every member of our committee to be dedicated to national security and to working together. I'm very pleased that Jim Himes and myself, my ranking member, are dedicated to that bipartisan cooperation and to the professionalism. No one is served by members of this committee fighting with each other. We are here to work together. It's what the American people deserve and what the American people expect. And we will not always agree, but through debate and dialogue, we will find solutions. One of these issues that will be open for debate is the renewal of 702 of FISA. The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, Section 702. 702 is essential. It has provided successes, and it has provided those successes against our adversaries. However, there have been, and there continue to be, many abuses of FISA. It must be reformed. Our first step is that we must be honest with the American people. Today, I am going to be looking to each of you for honesty, an acknowledgement that FISA has been abused. From that acknowledgement, we can together find solutions and reforms as we work to renew 702 of FISA. To aid in this process, I have appointed a working group, 3 members of the majority. Jim Himes will be appointing 3 members of the minority to the working group. The working group will have equal numbers of Democrats and Republicans. Darren LaHood will be its chair. I've appointed Representative Darren LaHood to chair this working group because of his leadership, expertise, and integrity. Prior to his election to Congress, Darren LaHood served as a career prosecutor at both the state and federal levels. Specifically, he worked for the U.S. Department of Justice as an assistant United States attorney and was selected as the chief terrorism prosecutor in Las Vegas, Nevada. I am confident that his experience in investigating and prosecuting criminal and terrorist activities make him supremely qualified to lead this important bipartisan working group. I'm excited about the important work this working group is planning to do, and under Darren's leadership, I'm confident that they will produce meaningful reform proposals. But I would be remiss if I did not underscore the burdensome task that they have in front of them and the reality that Congress cannot preserve FISA alone. What we need from each of you is a commitment to work with the committee and Representative LaHood's working group to gain America's trust and to pursue legislative reforms to the FISA process that safeguard and guarantee the constitutional rights of all American citizens. This commitment is necessary because it is the actions of individuals in your organizations who have degraded the public trust and has ultimately put FISA at risk. It is not Congress that has put FISA at risk. It is your organization. These abuses did not happen somewhere else. They happened underneath the leadership of the individuals that are represented at the table in front of us. Well, that may sound harsh, but the first step in earning back this trust is an ability to admit that there is, in fact, a problem. This problem can't be explained as unintentional line staff mistakes and misunderstandings. It is a problem that will require cooperation with clear and open minds. We cannot undertake a clean reauthorization of 702 without an acknowledgement of the problem, a concerted effort to gain back trust, and a commitment to working with Congress toward meaningful reforms. I know that every member of this committee is committed to pursue the renewal of 702 and understand its importance and the work that it accomplishes for our national security. With that, I yield to my ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to each of our witnesses for appearing today. We are grateful for the important work that the intelligence community workforce does every day for our nation. The annual Worldwide Threats Open Hearing is a unique opportunity for the public to hear directly from intelligence community leadership about the latest assessments of the most pressing national security threats facing the United States. It's important for the American people to understand the variety of nation states and non-nation state actors that remain serious concern to our intelligence agencies and to the national security of the United States. North Korea's threatening behavior towards the United States and our South Korean allies continues at a high clip, even as their missile program makes rapid progress. Iran's malign, particularly malign and threatening behavior in the region and towards the United States threatens us in the region, our allies in the region, and I fear that Iran's nuclear program has advanced to a point where we would have little warning if they decided to produce weapons-grade enriched uranium and move on to the weaponization of that uranium. Of course, Russia remains a central threat 1 year into Putin's brutal invasion of Ukraine. Last year, Chairman Turner and I had the opportunity to visit Kyiv and meet President Zelensky and his leadership to see firsthand the courage of the Ukrainian people who are defending their homeland. The assistance and support we've provided, along with our allies, have frustrated Putin's ambitions, but we have clearly a long way to go and some thinking to do about how to make sure that that conflict doesn't continue being the meat grinder that it is. Which brings me to China, which is the central, I believe, strategic challenge we face in the world, one marked by a complicated and interdependent economic relationship. Last week, we held a hearing with leaders from the foreign policy community, and Dr. Richard Haass, most recently of the Council on Foreign Relations, observed that however one might characterize our relationship with China, the easy Cold War analogies to the Soviet Union are inapt. The Soviet Union was not integrated into the global economy. For all our discussion of decoupling, the United States and China set a new record in 2022 on two-way trade between our countries, totaling $700 billion. China currently holds close to $1 trillion of United States sovereign debt. So how do we respond to an increasingly aggressive and militaristic Chinese approach to world affairs? China clearly aspires to export its authoritarian approach to governance, including the technological tools that enable their regime to restrict speech and surveil their people. How well do we know Chinese thinking, intentions, red line, and weaknesses as the policymakers navigate this difficult path. That will be an essential task for the intelligence community. A word on technology, which I think I have talked to all of you about. For the first time since the Manhattan Project in the late 1940s, we are not the clear technological leader. Innovation is happening elsewhere, and of course, innovation is happening at a rapid clip inside China. And we no longer live in the era of planes and tanks and battleships. Technology today means artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and biosynthesis. None of those are areas in which we want to be even a fast follower. We want to be at the point of the spear on innovation on those things. I concur with the chairman on 702. The people sitting here today understand that 702 authorities must be reauthorized. 702, unlike the Section 215 metadata collection program, is a 24/7, day-by-day essential tool to keeping this country safe. But the chairman's not wrong. The Congress, we have a long way to go to educating the Congress on precisely what those authorities are. I would note that many of the abuses that the chairman made reference to or misbehavior occurred not under FISA 702, but under other FISA authorities. And I note that just because we have a long way to go in educating the Congress of the United States and the people of the United States about exactly what it is that we're talking about. And you have a long way to go to validating my statement that this is a 24/7, day-by-day essential tool to keeping the American people safe. So I look forward to our conversation, concur in the chairman's view that we are committed to pursuing the important work of this committee in a bipartisan, thoughtful, and constructive way, and welcome you again to testimony here today.
Thank you, Congressman Hymes. We now turn to Avril Haines, Director of National Intelligence, who will be presenting the opening statement on behalf of the panel. Welcome and thank you for your leadership.